Good evening. Today is July 4th, 2026, 2000 hours. And I want to get going on my subject of today. I'm going to be talking about private security officers in California and other states, primarily discussing vehicle code enforcement and parking enforcement citations. Now, the main topic of this video is reference to parking enforcement citation violations. Can a private security company that's private, that's licensed by the Department of Consumer Affairs, BSIS? Well, that that board that licenses and oversees security officers is a civilian licensing board. It's not a law enforcement panel, and they don't enforce nothing besides licensing requirements for security officers. Now, they do enforce a lot of regulations that regulate private security. And if you're in violation of the Business and Professions Code, they'll give you a citation. Um, that being said, it's a civilian board, it's not a law enforcement board. Other states like South Carolina, North Carolina, Ohio, I think even Washington D.C. and like I think it's like 20 different states. Those states give law enforcement statutory municipal uh, authority power, just like deputy sheriffs. Only when the guard is at their post protecting that property while in uniform on the clock, they have statutory power as deputy sheriffs. Now, like South Carolina, they have to go through a law enforcement registration process. That process gets screened by that law enforcement panel, and then they have to get licensed by a civilian licensing board. So in California, we don't have that. So we don't have any law enforcement functions. Now, can a private security officer give you a parking enforcement citation violation for parking overnight at a park or at any private or government property? They cannot. And here's why. Um, if the security company business owner has a contract with a local government, they cannot issue any uh, citations or parking tickets under California Vehicle Code 40202 and under regulation by the California Attorney General opinion number 01-1103. California Attorney General opinion is 01-1103, and the California Vehicle Code 40202. It gives you specific and regulations regarding who can give parking enforcement citations. A private business, which is a private security company, cannot give anybody a parking citation, even if they have a contract with the city or with a local government. In order for you as a security officer or as an officer, you have to be a public officer to give a parking enforcement citation. You have to work and be employed by a public agency that works for the government, like a law enforcement agencies. They have parking enforcement divisions. They also have park ranger divisions. Not every law enforcement agency can have their own parking enforcement division and park rangers. They don't have the authority, don't have the money to get hired by They don't have the money or the funds. Um, so if you're a security officer in California and you have a contract with a city government or a local or a county government, and you're giving parking enforcement citations for that property, if that citation enforces that citizen to pay a fine or has consequences if they failure to pay a fine, um, that can be illegal because as a security officer, you're given a citation under the color of the law. You're acting under the color of the law. I would appeal that citation in court and give the court defined law in regards to this activity that security guards are doing. They can't do that in California. It's illegal. And a security company cannot identify their guards as parking officers or park rangers or code enforcement officers. They can only be identified as security officers or security guards or security enforcement agents. Those are the titles that are legally allowed in California. Um, that being said, um, you get a citation by a security company with the contract of a local government. That local government is pretty much giving them authority, but they don't have authority under the color of the law. They don't. We don't have authority. Security officers have no law enforcement powers. We have no power to give anybody a citation. We have to work directly with a law enforcement agency and be employed under their umbrella.